Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Naomi Roberson Show. I have a very special guest for you today. Her name is Vanessa Washington, and she has a very powerful story. I know it's going to bless you. Now listen, I want you to just take time to call a friend or call a neighbor and have them to tune in also. God bless you, Vanessa. It's so wonderful to have you here, and I know you have this wonderful story you want to share with people, and it's going to help a lot of people. Yes, so listen, I want you to just tune in, and we're just going to let the Lord move and let him bless you. You know, you talked about, I've heard your testimony a couple of times, and I just know that God is in the midst of your life. And I know that I watch you, you know, and I see that you're being obedient and you're learning and you're using that for your everyday life. You know, see, people, it's one day at a time. That's really what it is. It's one day at a time. And you told us about how God delivered you. Let's go back a little bit further than this incident you had with the substance abuse and talk about just growing up. How was that growing up, just you and your family?
Well, growing up for me, I thought in the beginning was a great lifestyle. It was a single parent home, and then I went to stay with my grandmother, surrounded by drugs and just, my parents was big time drug dealers.
Okay,
So
now let's stop. I want to ask this question. You said your parents became drug dealers.
they was big time drug dealers, yes.
So you saw this.
Yes.
And you knew it. They
Yes.
didn't have any shame in it at all. Just,
Well, I was kind of a mischievous child, so
Okay.
I used to just go peep in the rooms and all of that. But yeah, they wasn't very good at hiding it.
that wasn't mischievous. That was nosy. And that's okay.
Yeah, that was nosy.
And that's okay, because sometimes that's how we learn, you know. But my question I want to ask you, what gave you, I know they were dealing, but what gave you the incentive that you said, I'm going to try this?
Well, my mom's first husband, told me he came home with a disease, and later on I found that it was the disease of addiction. And I used to watch him get high, and
He
see
did it in
him.
front of you?
He have done it in front of
Okay.
me, and I used to see the effects of it, and I thought,
You're going to try it.
yeah, I didn't think anything was wrong with it.
Okay, because that's all you knew. You
Yeah,
saw
that's
that.
all- yeah.
That's all you knew. Okay, so how far did you go into this deep, I call it depression too, because it's something happening when you're doing drugs. You got a problem. People have a problem, but they don't realize they're self-medicating. That's how it starts. And before you know it, you addicted, and then you go further with it. And then, now listen, I've never been on drugs. I'm certified in different areas with drugs and substance abuse, even alcohol. I got certified in that area. So I'm only speaking from book knowledge.
Okay.
And also I'm speaking from the clients. You know, they tell their own story. You only know what people tell you, because each person is different.
Yes.
You know, but nevertheless, let's talk about being in the midst of the drug habit and you in it and you just can't get off. What's happening? What are you doing to keep this high going every day? Because you got to, you know, once you're in it, you got to get out every day.
Well, you know, it started out as white collar crimes, and then the more drugs I took, then the more desperate the need for the drugs and the money took. So it led me down the path of prostitution. I neglected my children. What else? Prostituted others, manipulated, stole,
Okay.
To jail.
You just did what it took to get out.
Survival.
To survive. Okay, so then that was part of my next question is that you were married or a single mom at the time?
I was married. I was married. I lost my husband due to my addiction. I lost 2 husbands due to my addiction.
Okay, so they just couldn't deal with it.
Yes.
That's a bad thing for a relationship.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't handle that. And you know, the whole thing people don't understand is that you have to try to help yourself.
Yes.
First, nobody can help you until you decide, you know, and it was just an honor, and thank you again for inviting me to your graduation.
Oh,
and how the
thank
Lord
you.
just brought you through that program, and you were just excited, and I was excited for you, you
Yes.
know. And I'm looking at how God, you know, moved through different people, not just you, but I've seen other people come through and just say, listen, I don't want to do this anymore. Now, sometimes they go back and use again. Because I don't know, like I say, I think for some people, they're a little bit more vulnerable and they slip into it again, you know, because everything is still exciting. Nothing's changed. You've changed. See, that's what you got to understand. You've changed. And that's where it begins. It begins with you. Nobody can help you get off of it. You can go through your programs. You can, you have to change your environment, of course, but that's about you changing. And at some point, because I knew a guy who was an alcoholic, and the way he changed, and I think he did a wonderful job. He wouldn't go into lounges. He didn't go out and party like that anymore. He didn't go around people who were drinking. He just decided, you know what, I'm gonna eat, sleep, breathe, whatever, you know, whatever it took to stay off the alcohol. And that's why I know when they say, I'm an alcoholic and I've been clean for 20 years. Well, they don't know the God I know. Because God, once you delivered, now this is me, this is my faith. Once you are delivered, and this is based on not my faith, but it's also according to the word. Once you deliver, you are delivered. And when you know the word, the Holy Spirit will convict you when you feel, I want to go back and use. And if it doesn't, something's not right there. And you know what it just means? You got to stay before the Lord.
Yes.
And I'm not using the Lord like a religious thing. I'm using it as a personal relationship, because that's what it's supposed to be. So where did you go from there? And first of all, how many years did you spend out there like that?
30 years, several relapses.
You relapsed?
Several times, about 8 times.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't get clean for my children, my family, my husband, my mom. No.
What was happening in your life at that time otherwise? I mean, was there some traumas? Because some of these things are triggers. Some of these things happen because we've been through something and we just can't shake it, you know?
Yeah, well, I know that I was suffering from abandonment issues, and I watched my father be an abuser of women. And I used to watch that, and I used to say, no, never me. But I never could trust. I never could trust anyone, because either you're going to leave or you're going to beat me. So that's one thing. And then as I got older and started having children, the fact that I couldn't get rid of this disease to take care of my children was one of the main things that kept me in a depressive, isolated state. I just didn't want to be seen.
Let's see, what I'm hearing here, I hear several issues. Number one, you had trust issues. Another issue is that, and these are triggers, okay? Another issue is that you didn't want anybody to put their hands on you. Who does? So you had a problem, you know, with abuse. And sometimes we don't understand abuse comes in different forms. It's not just physical, it's emotional, okay? It's verbal. You know, and some people just can't deal with that. And you know what? Nobody should have to deal with that. Usually the abuser is somebody who has some low self-esteem, some issues themselves. And I have to say this because this is from my experience, my professional experience. A lot of times women go get help, but men don't.
Yes.
I don't know, you know, who told them that you can't cry? God gave you tears to cry. It's a reason why we do cry. But this is the way they're raised. You know, you're a man, you don't cry, you don't do this, you don't do... That's not true.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that. You know, I don't believe that's true.
I agree.
And women will go get help, and we can fight hard. We fight, we love hard. We fight hard and we love hard, and we'll ride till the wheels fall off. For some of us just throw the towel in.
Yes.
But I like to get the message not to those who are abusers, but to the men as well.
Yes.
It's okay to get some psychiatric counseling. It's okay to cry. It's okay to tell somebody, listen, I fell short of this. You know, listen, sometimes we feel that we are judged. And a lot of people do judge. We're judged by what's on the surface, but what's in your heart? It's what's in your heart. So here we go, 30 years, you relapsed 8 times. What was your children doing? How many kids did you have first?
I have 4.
Okay.
My eldest son, well, all my children doing well academically. They stayed with my mother. I would run in and out of their lives. Then my elder boy went off to college. Graduated. Then my daughter graduated from high school.
Okay.
I was still in my madness, and now But they always excelled in school. And my younger two boys used to always want to cry and want to be with me. They used to. I know I saw them sitting in the window waiting on me one time, but I was too busy.
Okay, and you couldn't feel that right then and there.
Yeah, no.
So were they ever taken from you, your children?
Yes, DCFS was involved. That's how they got to come to live with my mother.
Okay, so I got it. Okay, when you said they were with their grandmother, right? Okay, I can see that. But do you realize as women, we need to understand that the first woman that a man ever loved is his mother.
Yes.
So they couldn't help it.
Yes.
Those boys, you know.
Yes.
Sometimes the girls get a little angry, but also they're looking at what you're doing. And that's what happened with you. You were watching them, okay? But I've seen your sons. I think they're sweethearts. I do.
Thank you.
I think they're just adorable because, and they're older.
Yes.
You know, now. But I'm thinking about also when they were young, I'm sure how impressionable and sensitive they were as boys looking at their mom, whom they loved dearly, you know. And I just thought about at the graduation, I'm sure you heard it, your son was sitting, one of your, well, both of them did, sat next to my husband and I, and he hollered, "Mama." I mean, he was just elated, and he was so loud. And then somebody said to him, I said, "No, that's his mother. Let him do what he's doing." And they left him alone. But I was just thinking about how you come on up out of the ranks and how God just blessed you and brought you to a point that you look forward to going to church, and they love being with you, and you know, it's just a beautiful thing. And we want to share this with you to let you know there's hope. Somebody said, and I know the word speaks of it too, when there's nothing else, there's always hope. So I thank God for that. But listen, I have to take a break. Welcome back to the Naomi Roberson Show. Now, if you just tuned in, I'm talking with my guest, Vanessa Washington, and she's here to share her powerful story about how God has delivered her from substance abuse. And through it all, as many times as she has relapsed and wanted to just continue to do it again and then stop, God had his hand on her life. And it takes a miracle. You're looking here at a miracle. Now listen, we were talking before the break how you just couldn't see, the kids, they were in the window, they're looking for you, and DCFS took your children. How many years was that? Then they took your children. How many years between that when you got them back?
About 15 to 16 years. It was because Chunky was a baby and he's 15 now.
Okay. He just turned 16 no?
Yes, we just turned 16 May the 8th.
See, I know.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, and then we got Ahmad. He's older.
Yeah, he's a year older.
Okay. Have you I'm sure you have, but let me ask it anyway. Have you had a conversation with them of some of the trauma that they have?
I have.
Okay.
I opened the doors by letting them know that, because I know that I hurt them, because when I went through my trauma classes and my counseling, I was taught about my trauma. So, yes, They, yes, I talked to them about it. I talked to them about their predisposition to drug addiction. I talked to them about being exposed to the lifestyle of drug addiction, along with some other mental illness that may accompany that, like depression or feeling of abandonment or feeling not good enough, having low self-esteem. All those things can be a direct
Triggers.
cause. Yeah.
Things. I'm sure you've done this, but let me ask you. You told them you're sorry.
Oh, yes.
Many times, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, that's important. But also, you got to forgive yourself, because we forget about ourselves sometimes,
Yes.
and we have to live with certain issues in our life. But I want to go back to the point you mentioned about abandonment. Can you tell us about that?
In my life or my
The
children?
abandonment, no, yours.
So my mother was married. Her and Robert was separated because of his addiction. We was living a good life, and then all of a sudden we wasn't.
Okay.
Daddy left, and then he died. At that time, that was the only daddy that I knew, because my biological father wasn't in the picture at all. Let me say that. And Robert was my only father, and he promised me in December they would be at my 8th grade graduation, and he died a couple days later from drug
drugs.
addiction.
Okay, now your children abandonment. How was that with them?
Well,
with your grandmother, right?
No, my children live with my mom, their grandmother.
Okay, right, exactly.
Yeah. So just, it wasn't so much as, I was abusive and neglectful. Running in and out the house, spending up all the money. My parents was taking care of them anyway, to be honest. And so the courts, someone called, and the courts seemed fit to remove them from the home.
How old were they?
Chunky was a baby. Ahmad was like 1-ish. I know Tariq, my elder boy, Tariq was 12. Janae had to be about 8.
So your union now is kind of recent.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay. See, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I never asked you that. But so your union, family reunion,
yes,
is kind of recent. But they love you all over you. Like you all have been together all the time. But I'm sure you took some time in between those 16 years to see them, and visit or whatever. But you just couldn't hang.
It was right. So that's what I was talking about with the relapse. I would stay clean for a year or 9 months, or trying to get them back in the house, but something didn't go the way I wanted it to go, and then I get high again.
What made you do that? Go back after you said a year. That's a long time in a sense.
State of hopelessness, like just a state of hopelessness.
Okay.
Like I'm never gonna get out of this.
Oh, okay.
And
so you doubted yourself.
Yeah.
Low self-esteem.
No self-worth at all. Yeah.
Okay. So what happened? Tell us what happened.
What happened?
What brought you to the point? Because I see you fired up. I know you are.
God happened.
Okay.
God happened. So I don't know at what point, but I do know that I was arrested, or I went to jail. I wasn't arrested. I went to jail. And in jail, something started to happen. I couldn't call on anybody.
But God.
But God, that's it. I couldn't call on anybody. And then he had placed people in my life. You was there before I even got to court the first time, ready to get me out, because we had already had a relationship. My spiritual family was the only thing that I had. And I had believed that God had placed them in my life.
Of course.
And one day I just decided to surrender. That's it. It's hard because people think that we go back because we want to go back.
No, something's happening.
Yeah, something's happening.
Something's happening to get you back on that.
It's a
hopelessness.
state. Yeah, it's just a state of hopelessness. And if you never ever get to the root of what's going on, then it's gonna keep on going and going and going, and then you'll stay insanity, doing the same thing, expecting different results, and not asking for help. But some of us didn't know how to ask for help, So it had to be a power greater than me.
What plans do you have for your life now? Or or let me ask another way, are you taking it a day at a time?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Okay.
I do understand that I suffer from a fatal disease called addiction. But my one day at a time is largely my intimate relationship with God all the time.
Okay.
You know, so I'm always talking to God. Yeah. And what do I have planned? Or what would I like to see happen? I would like to help people like me who don't know, because sometimes they just don't know that it's hope.
Don't know.
They just don't know. And I want to help people who don't know how to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just want to help them because it's a dark place, walking in a valley of the shadow of death.
And in prison is like, never been in prison, but what was your experience?
For me, honestly, that helped me. It's really hard and dark and mean and
Vicious.
Yes, and you don't get to eat much, and
Okay.
yeah, it's not a pleasant place to be.
Okay.
And where you want to just ball up in a knot, especially when now
Okay.
you can't even get high now because you're in jail.
Right, but some people do.
Yeah, some people do.
I hear.
No, I know it, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But let me ask, how many times had you been to prison?
3. I went, one 25 years ago, and then this time. Well, a time before now, and then the time I did.
So all this time you were good and just
I was good, and I thought I was doing something.
Okay.
I thought it was me who was avoiding the police and yeah.
You wasn't running or hiding or where?
No, I was in plain sight.
Okay. Okay. And you know what? I'm excited for you. I've had a chance to just see you operate, and I knew you before.
Yes. Yes.
And then I know you now. so I know the difference, and and I just thank God that you decided to make that change, and that it was God who said, "Oh, I'm going to work with you."
Yes.
On it. But you had to let Him. You had to let. Had you not done that, you could still be out there doing things. Your children would probably be someplace else, and it's good they still love you.
Yes.
I haven't met your daughter, I don't think, but I'm sure they all together. And I understand you said 4 children?
Yes.
But you have another son, older?
Yes, he's in Atlanta.
In Atlanta. How is his relationship now with you?
Well,
are you working on something?
No, well, to my surprise, because he wasn't talking to me for a while.
Okay.
But he called me Mother's Day, and was like, "Mom, you want to see a tour of my place?" And and then he posted a past, present, future of me, and a song dedicated to me called "Dear Mama."
That's so sweet.
Yes, I cried, and we've been talking.
How old is he?
Tyree is 24.
24. Okay, he's a young man.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, and I know your stories. It's going to help a lot of you, and sometimes you get caught up in things you just don't understand, and drug addiction is something that nobody needs to be caught up in, because, like I said, sometimes people have issues, but they want to self-medicate, and they think. I had a guest on this show once before some years ago, and she was saying how, when she woke up in the morning, the first thing she wanted to do was get high. She didn't take a shower. She didn't brush her teeth. She didn't change her clothes. Whatever she slept in, that was it. And she said that she had to just figure out how to get high. And she did this for years, but God delivered her. And she just began a new life.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to say it. I said it before. This is not about religion. This is about a relationship with Jesus Christ. So thank you so much for coming and taking the time to share and care. And thank you for watching. And you just want to let you know that God loves you. But you need to love yourself too. That's all the time we have for now. God bless you, and I'll see you next week. God bless you.